A tragedy like the Newtown school attacks is difficult to fathom, let alone explain. But with young children as the victims, it's even tougher. How do you discuss something like this with your kids? Joining us is Dr. Irwin Redlener, a pediatrician at Columbia University and the head of the Children's Health Fund, and CBS This Morning contributor Lee Woodruff. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Dr. Redlener, let me start with you. I mean, first of all, I know personally I went home last night after being at work for this, and my 12-year-old son didn't talk about what had happened, but I could tell he was upset by it. He wanted to be hugged more than he usually did. Then I got a phone call from my 24-year-old daughter in Chicago, who, without saying anything, I could tell she just wanted to touch base with everybody. This is one of those things where even if your kids don't speak about it, they're almost certainly affected, aren't they?
There's no question about it, and many children will be affected, and these children could be anywhere really in the world, and any child exposed to the news even about what's happened has the potential of being affected. Most children are going to be resilient, they'll get through this, but they will need certain kind of support and comfort and being there from their parents. And this is a little bit tricky, and we want to make sure that we answer the questions that children ask, but that we're limiting information in certain ways. But there's a lot that we can do to make this easier and more possible for them to get through this without any serious long-term issues.
And you need to comfort them even if they don't ask questions, right?
There's a lot of nonverbal communication that comes from children, as parents all know, and that is something that we need to be extremely attentive to. So children who just stop talking, or children who get agitated, they might become more aggressive with their siblings. They might have any kind of behavioral change you can think of, including sleep problems. They can't sleep at night. They're having nightmares. But all of these issues are things that parents should be aware of, and those are signals to the parents that we really need to get close. We need to be reassuring, and we need to be providing information that is absolutely relevant to their particular age and developmental stage. And I think by doing those things, we can really help children get through what is going to be a very difficult time for a lot of children, especially younger children.
Lee, there's really no how-to booklet for dealing with something like this as a parent. And being at the vigils last night, I talked to so many parents who had so many different viewpoints on what they would tell their children, how they would handle this at home. I wonder what you're doing in your home with your children.
Last night was a big night in my house because my 12-year-old twins were going to their first boy-girl dance. And so the television was on, and I walked in the room and I just turned it off. And my girls had a lot of questions, but they were sort of general. Are we safe? And actually, one twin's response was very different than the other. And so my answer always is broad brushstrokes. You know, don't give them any more information than you need. But of course, their first question is, Mom, could this happen in our school? And my big answer always to parents is, don't lie to them. You can't pretend that you have all the answers. But what I say to my kids is, I believe you're safe. And, you know, we're doing everything in our town to keep you safe. But you can't tell your kids that, you know, no harm will ever come to them or they will never see a bad thing. So to keep it so general, to hug them, we touched, I did their hair. It's all of those little things that Anthony was talking about.
And these, I mean, Lee, it's interesting because even when you answer the question the first time, it's still there a number of days later. It lingers, and you've got to persist on this, don't you?
You know, and I think in the lingering days, those are the days to just sort of say, how are you doing today? Or, you know, how do you feel, honey? And those really open-ended questions that allow them to then get more specific. The last thing I want to do is ask them a specific thing about any of the details of this tragedy.
Dr. Redlener, if you're personally upset, do you hide that from your children? Do you share it with them?
Well, actually, you really do need to try to remain as calm and as under control as possible. And look, every human being, adult, parent, grandparent, is feeling the trauma of this horrendous event. And it's really important that in interacting with your children, that you remain as calm and reassuring and a stable presence as possible. It doesn't mean you have to not acknowledge the fact that you are also upset. You can do that at the same time that you're being reassuring and being a stable figure. You know, they call adults buffers for serious trauma like this for children, and it's very important that we see ourselves acting to protect our kids, and in doing so, it may be may be difficult, but expressing the fact that this is a horrible event, you feel terrible about it, at the same time that you're reassuring them and providing the comfort and connection and closeness that Lee was talking about, that has to be done all at the same time. And the final point I'd make about this is that the symptoms, the issues can come up days, weeks, months from now, and parents need to remain vigilant as to the behaviors and the questions and whatever's going on in with their children. Just really stay close and stay alert to any of the signals that may indicate that children are being more affected than you might think.
You know, one of the things, guys, I worry about in this culture with video games and movies, and we're exposed to so much violence, our children are, is I think in this instance, it's really important to show your children that you're empathic. So yesterday when my daughter came up to me on the couch, I had tears in my eyes. I said, honey, I am so sad. I want you to think about these families. This is a real thing. I think there's a tendency for all of us to just feel numb, because these things are happening so much more frequently. And it is important to take that moment to show your children these are real people, real lives.
Such a good point.
Dr. Irwin Redlener and Lee Woodruff, thank you both for being with us this morning.